Games have been around since the beginning of time. We've used them as methods of entertainment or as a way to compete with one another. One thing that we've become accustomed to is that every single time we decide to take part in a game, there's typically a clear objective or a winner while playing in it. But what happens if there isn't an objective, or let alone, no winners at all? Ever since the dawn of the internet, we've seen countless attempts to make the next big online network. Some have worked out, others not so much. When looking at the current successful online networks, you'll see that when it comes to building a stable platform, you typically need these three things. 1. Some code to manage all of your content. 2. A place to put this code. And of course, people to make the content for your platform. All major social media networks today contain all three of these elements, but one stands out above the rest as the trailblazer behind tons of controversy, a lot of rules and regulations, and of course, billions and billions of dollars involved. If you haven't guessed already by the title of this video, let's talk about YouTube. So how exactly was YouTube created to begin with? To find that out, let's travel back in time to 2005. 3 former PayPal employees, Chad, Steve, and Jawed, wanted to make an online dating site, but it failed. And then this happened. The internet went crazy, of course, at the time, and the 3 guys realized that they couldn't find a video of Janet Jackson's slip up anywhere on the internet, and that's why they decided to turn YouTube into an online video streaming site. First video ever was uploaded on April 23rd of 2005, and the rest is history. After opening as a beta service in May of 2005, YouTube was trafficking around 30,000 views in just a few months with the help of a little bit of venture capital funding. During the summer 2006, the site was one of the fastest growing on the internet, and this rapid growth meant that the site itself had trouble keeping up. They desperately needed faster equipment to keep up with the site's new increased traffic. This is where Google stepped in, and they had much darker intentions than Chad, Steve, or Jawed. Google ended up buying the rapidly growing video sharing company for $1.65 billion in stock. This kickstarted YouTube's rise to becoming an absolute force to be reckoned with in the social media landscape. YouTube generated more than twice the amount of revenue than any major TV network in 2018, and for good reason. When you have a platform that is the host to some of the internet's most classic videos ever, it makes sense that YouTube was able to grow so rapidly. How was Google able to generate all this money through YouTube? Advertising, of course, which became the primary source of revenue generation for YouTube and Google, and honestly it makes perfect sense. If you've got a website receiving millions of views, make companies pay to get their ads in front of those millions of people. There's one problem though. This wouldn't always stay the same. If we go back to the previous example, we see that in order to have a successful online network, you need the following 3 things. 1. Some code to manage your network's content. 2. A place to put this code. And 3. The people to make your content for your platform. So Google ended up providing the first 2, but the third wasn't a guarantee, and Google had to do whatever it took to keep people addicted on the platform to make sure that their $1.65 billion investment was worth it. So what did they do? Well, they started to pay creators to make content on the platform and rewarded creators who kept people watching the longest through improved rankings in the algorithm. Google didn't care about any of the creators, especially back in 2007. They only saw the creators as monkeys who made videos so that they could make back their investment money. Over time, creators started to realize that Google was showing signs of greedy behavior, and they started to share information with their fellow creators, but they only shared this information within their own circles and not with anyone new trying to grow on the platform. YouTube slowly started to notice their creators communicating with one another, and then they came to the realization that they didn't care that new creators were struggling to grow, as long as the big creators were making them all the money. This constant struggle and gatekeeping of information for new creators is exactly why 0.003% of all channels have a silver play button, which leads to a game that nobody wins. But how exactly does this game even form to begin with? Well, it's now August of 2007. Google is now 10 months past acquiring the video sharing giant, and they needed a way to make their money back and to make YouTube even more profitable than before. As discussed prior, they came up with the AdSense program in order to do so, and this allowed for creators to be tied to making content for YouTube in order to make a living. And since this was a completely new way to make money at the time versus your typical 9 to 5, everyone wanted to become a YouTuber. And they all remained completely blind to the fact that they were signing up to become Google's video creator monkey, rather than someone who's able to have full financial freedom of their life through a business or another means. But hey, at least you're no longer working an office job, right? Google saw this influx of people wanting to become creators and decided to make a game out of it, and the game was pretty simple. The more money a creator made YouTube, the more their videos would get promoted on the platform. How does YouTube make their money? Through advertisements. So the longer a creator could keep someone on their channel, the more money Google makes and the more successful a creator became. However, this game would get out of control very quickly. What happens when you give creators a brand new way to make passive income? They want more of it, of course. So not only would creators make money through YouTube ads, but they would also leverage their brands as a place for companies to put advertisements in front of their desired audiences. And 16 years later, we're now starting to see creators leverage their massive audience sizes to traffic their audience to their own external businesses, which has allowed for massive success and for creators to be the ones making an impact in the corporate world. Of course, whenever you have all this money involved, it's not going to come without a little bit of controversy. Ever since creators were able to make money from both YouTube ads and from placing their own ads, it was a constant legal struggle between companies and YouTube. Take Nintendo before 2018. They used to take all their ad revenue whenever a creator played a Nintendo game, but then they shifted it to a 70-30 split in favor of the creator. But still, having to give Nintendo $3 for every 10 that you make is the reason why Nintendo games don't have the same popularity on YouTube as other game titles such as Call of Duty or GTA. When you have a company that's swarmed in controversy and filled with community guidelines that are longer than a CVS receipt and they make absolutely no sense, it makes sense why YouTube has become a platform where Google profits off the successful creators while everyone else is stuck wondering how the hell to grow on the platform. To further demonstrate this point, let's take a look at some data. As of recording, there are currently 114 million active YouTube channels, and only 321,000 of these have 100,000 subscribers or more, which is about 0.003%. So let's visualize this. Say one day you're bored and you decide to pull up youtube.com. You're presented with 10 different videos based on what the algorithm thinks that you want to watch. You then click on one of these videos to watch, and then it is that creator's job to keep you watching their content as long as they possibly can, and they will either be rewarded or punished by the algorithm of Google. If 122 million people view YouTube every single day, then that means this process repeats itself 122 million times a day, where each person has their own unique recommendations. With all this content out there, how come only 0.003% of channels have 100,000 subscribers and only 0.77% of all videos will ever see 100,000 views? The answer is simple. Creators just don't know how. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, it's clear that information on how to grow on the platform is being gatekept by both the creators and YouTube themselves. If you look throughout time, you'll start to see circles of creators grow together through information being shared between one another. So if you end up finding yourself outside of one of these circles, you end up getting lost in the back of the line. So in order to figure out why exactly so many creators fail, I decided, why not ask? Based on a study done in February of 2023, only 0.003% of all channels will ever see 100,000 subscribers. After hearing this, does it surprise you at all, and why do you think it's so hard to grow on this platform?
It doesn't surprise me because I know, because I have one myself luckily, I know it's very hard to stay committed in the long run. I mean, the first 10,000 subscribers is quite easy, and most of the people are really lucky and they get it just by making one video that just suddenly blows up. But getting there in the long run is really difficult because you need to commit a lot of time. You need to stay in your niche. You need to stay in your brand. You need to develop your brand. You need to get a schedule going. You need to throw your entire life around and get your mental on point to be ready to take YouTube serious to reach that silver play button. It's not something that just
Happens.
flows into your arms or in your hands like that.
No, it's not.
It is really not surprising when you look at YouTube as a whole, as a job, because everybody wants to be a YouTuber. We all grew up with our favorite YouTubers. But me, when I first started, the hard part was being consistent. Because you can't grow without being consistent. So the fact that not a lot of people make it to 100,000 is not surprising because it's about your creativity. Once you run out of creativity, out of a drive, then you're done.
I see it in both hands where it's like, obviously there's a ton of people out there who maybe make a channel, upload once, never touch it again in the form of creating. But then obviously you have a ton of people like myself who upload at least a fairly consistent amount and do other things like stream or whatever, upload the short form stuff. And, you know, I'm hovering, I think, at like 265, 266, which obviously is nowhere near a silver play button. And so considering that that number does include, like, you know, quote unquote duplicates, if you will, for an individual creator, it does kind of blow your mind how few probably individual people have hit that mark. Considering, I mean, YouTube's been around since 2005.
Yeah. YouTube has made it very clear what you can and cannot post on the platform. But the one thing that they aren't clear about is how exactly creators can grow on said platform. Why do you think this is?
I think the reason they don't give a guideline for growth is they don't think that there is a one size fits all, and they don't think that some people it might take 1,000 videos until they start really gaining traction. Sometimes people they upload one video and it does really well.
If they tell you how to become big, the market's gonna be inflated. Everybody's gonna be doing the same thing, and then it's not gonna be as unique, I would say, because then we all follow the same template to become a great YouTuber.
I think it's maybe a really smart plan by YouTube to not say exactly how to grow. I think, imagine if everyone knew how the algorithm worked, right?
Yeah.
You would just look at how it works and just do what it says. And if everyone does that, then the quality of videos will most likely go up, you know, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I talked about this before in a video of mine as well. If everything is always good, it becomes a new standard.
Yeah.
And if everything is the new standard, then nothing is good anymore because everything is basically on the same level as we experience them now.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I think by not saying anything, you first of all keep it fair for everyone, also for those who don't have the experience to become a good YouTuber. And at the same time, you do also give people the more freedom and creative freedom, really, to truly make whatever you want and try whatever you want, because who knows, maybe you'll be the next Mr. Beast, or you find something that is so revolutionizing or so original that you'll suddenly blow up and, you know, you set the new trend.
Yeah, gotcha. Creators tend to find success by learning from other creators. Has there ever been a point in your career where you felt stuck because you didn't have the right people around you?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, like 100 different times. And the most reoccurring one is I don't know what to post. I'm out of ideas. This has already been done. How can I do this differently?
Mm-hmm.
So the point where I felt stuck is when I put like a year in, I would say. Then I started running out of original content because I used to do Fortnite.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was the biggest game a few years ago. So the hard part was like, how can I do something else that has not been done in this popular game?
I mean, I would say, like, there's been times where I've wished that there were other people that I knew, or even other people that I could, like, introduce myself to online and they actually respond and not, like, ego me or something like that, but, like, other people that are making similar content to me that also have a similar schedule as me to where, like, we can collaborate on stuff.
Not really, because first of all, I'm really full of myself in some aspects, so I never want anyone's help. On top of that, I never, and this is a mistake, and I highly urge everyone who's either a starting YouTuber or an experienced one to try to network with familiar faces and other YouTubers. Because on my first channel, I didn't network with anyone till I had like 40,000 subscribers, and then I reached out to someone, or no, it was the other way around. One of the Valorant community members, because I'm a Valorant YouTuber in some kind of weird way.
Yeah.
They reached out to me to get to know me because they like what I did.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into that world. And I feel like if you don't network, you'll miss out on knowing how to do things better, how to experience things better, how to develop things better, just do anything better, really.
This is why YouTube is a game that nobody wins. because the ones at the top are just Google money generators, and everyone else at the bottom just continues to struggle. And why exactly do so many creators struggle? Well, it's primarily because YouTube is a zero-sum market and a very difficult one to succeed in if you don't understand your audience and what people want to watch. Going back to our example of someone being bored and visiting youtube.com, they'll be presented with 10 videos to choose from. Whatever one they click on is the winning video. The rest are losing videos. YouTube rewards winning videos with boosts in the algorithm and punishes the ones who lose. By a boost in the algorithm, we mean that it'll get shown to more and more people, and if it continues to get clicked on, then that video will just rack up more and more views. Videos that continuously generate winning clicks will gain more impressions, since that video is making Google the most money. The videos that don't generate clicks just don't generate YouTube enough money where they could care about it. All in all, YouTube is a game where no one wins because the winning clicks just give money to YouTube, and the losing clicks are left stuck about why exactly they are being clicked on, but there's definitely a way to find success on this platform. It just hasn't been told to 99% of creators. Let's say you're a creator though. How exactly do you get to the point where you're generating enough winning clicks, you're keeping people on YouTube and making Google all the money possible, and they're happy enough to give you a full-time income to make more content? Well, the answer to that is complicated, but what's not complicated is joining my Discord using the link below. There, you can talk with me one-on-one and have access to all of my resources to unlock your full potential as a creator. In short, however, psychology is one of the greatest tools to have in your toolbox when it comes to content creation, as it's a skill that only the top creators have come to master.
Are ultimately more clickable. Again, this is all psychological stuff.
Generating interest with your title and your thumbnail is your first step. Then making Google money through your editing whenever they click on your video is the next step. If there are enough people who want to watch a particular type of video, but not enough creators have made that type of video, then you've got a good shot at your video doing numbers. Sorry to say, but the 1 millionth COD gameplay isn't going to break through, because the supply for that is just way too high for you to compete with. This video, for example, explaining how snipers affect developers and their players, it's an example of a 10x video, or a video that has 10 times the views as the subscribers because it hit a topic of high demand, but not many other creators are making that type of content. In order to grow as a YouTuber, you must understand your market and then keep people on the platform long enough to make Google as much money as possible. That's exactly why MatPat said this.
What I always recommend is the strongest call to action is to watch another video. Because now all of a sudden your channel went from like, say 8 minutes of watch time to 16 minutes of watch time if they watch another one.
It's a cold, cold world out there when you're competing in a zero-sum market. Or a market when one person wins, another one has to lose. Because you must consistently come up with the right ideas and convince people why they should click on your video instead of someone else's. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because Google is the true winner in the end. Not only is YouTube an incredibly hard game to make a career out of, but it's one that can be incredibly demotivating to creators who can't even break 50 views on a video because they don't understand the current market that they are trying to reach. Putting yourself in your audience's shoes is one of the best ways to understand what your audience member wants to watch. And if you're part of your own audience, well, it makes it even easier. Becoming a successful creator requires you to consistently find content ideas that have a low supply but a high demand, which can be incredibly tough for most people. Not only that, but you also must learn how to manipulate and control people, much like Google is doing to their own creators. Going back to Google though, it's become more and more difficult for creators to grow, and the ones that do almost seem lucky enough to make the algorithm like them, but that's far from the case. The algorithm was intentionally designed by Google to keep you watching as long as possible, and they don't give a single shit if they mess up your dopamine receptors and make you addicted to their platform. Why would they? You're making them money, which in return will keep creators making more content, which will then keep you addicted to YouTube in a never-ending cycle. This is exactly why the term dopamine detox has been passed around more than a blunt at a frat house. The constant dopamine feeding has allowed the modern day massive creator market to exist, which is then what caused influencer marketing to skyrocket in popularity, as this video is sponsored.
Let's play Raid Shadow Legends.
Sorry to break the bad news, but Google doesn't care about you, your dog, your creepy Uncle Larry, and especially the creators that you love, as they're using them as weapons towards making themselves more and more money. And honestly, the plan is genius, because to the average viewer like you and I, becoming a YouTuber and being free from the typical 9-to-5 grind is something that's incredibly enticing, and it's why so many people are willing to throw themselves into the Google slave shop, which has caused plenty of creators to struggle with mental illness, burnout, or worse.
I think there's someone hanging right there.
The willingness to torture yourself in order to pleasure salve from impractical jokers is insane, but it's a grind that very few are willing to do, and it's why little creators will ever see themselves holding a silver play button, let alone a gold or diamond one. Creators like Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, Markiplier, and much more deserve their credit for enduring the grind for this long, solely for the passion of playing the game, as they don't even care that Google is profiting off their work, as when you're fueled entirely by passion for a particular subject, it doesn't even really matter about what you're doing because it doesn't really feel like work. However, if you let this passion take full control of your life, it can lead to some devastating impacts such as depression, anxiety, suicide, or...
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake.
I could really use a cupcake right about now. Google intentionally forcing some of the best software engineers in the world to make an algorithm designed to keep you addicted to the platform as long as possible has absolutely obliterated our attention spans. And things have gotten even worse with the introduction of TikTok, and then came Instagram Reels, and then probably the worst thing to happen to humanity since loot boxes, otherwise known as YouTube Shorts. To creators, Shorts is such an amazing tool to grow your following because you're guaranteed for someone to watch your video, compared to long form content where you have to come up with a thumbnail and an idea that's interesting enough for people to click on. But to the regular viewer, it's a depth trap for our brains and our dopamine receptors. Creators have realized that the more dopamine they feed us, the longer we'll watch their video for, and Google rewards the shorts that keep viewers watching the longest, and Google is even looking to make money on short form content as well now, as they're starting to see the increased popularity in this style of video. Everything behind that play button logo is designed to keep us on the platform, destroy our attention spans, and to make Google more and more money in a game that truly nobody wins. It's not just Google either. Meta and Rocket Man have both tried to implement strategies that negatively impact average people, but tried to convince creators to make content on their respective platforms because it keeps users on the platform, and the social media companies are nothing without their creators. If YouTube, Instagram, and others suddenly went away tomorrow, it would cause a massive collapse in the economy due to how many businesses and creators rely on the platforms to make a living while making our capitalist overlords as much money as possible. The only benefit if all social media platforms went away tomorrow would be that TikTok would no longer be a thing, and that's because the platform does more negative than good, especially considering they pay their creators worse than McDonald's, and well,
Being cheating.
this war on dopamine between the average user and creators has slowly turned into a war between the creators themselves. Many creators have risen to the top of the mountain, not by making good content, but by stealing, lying, or cheating. And with the addition of AI automation into the mix, things are only bound to get so much worse. It's already a constant battle for any small creator trying to become Google's next money printer, but to have your really good idea stolen by someone with a larger audience size is something that's incredibly demoralizing, and yet another reason why so many creators will end up falling short of their goals, and most will eventually quit. This war between creators doesn't just exist on YouTube either. It happens across the internet, with plenty of misinformation from YouTube gurus on other platforms like Twitter can cause creators to become even more stuck. Gurus are a virus to the creator community because yes, you can study creators all you want, but there's only so much you can learn without making any sort of content yourself. It's a constant struggle for anyone trying to make a living for themselves by being a Google money printer, because they don't know how exactly to go about doing things, because they're either being misled by a fake YouTube guru, or they're outside of a creator circle and they don't have any sort of true support on what to do. Fake gurus will tell you to focus on your analytics, when in reality, you should focus on learning your market and using psychology to make people click on your video. As a creator, your job is to make people addicted to your videos in order to please Google. And as a viewer, you're supposed to stay away from watching YouTube altogether, as you probably have better things to do. This constant ping pong battle for our attention is why nobody will ever win the game of YouTube, no matter how hard you try. Research has proven that viewing YouTube videos can produce short-term rewards in your brain, which will eventually produce long-term financial rewards for Google, while you're the one being negatively impacted. But hey, that 500th meme compilation was pretty funny, right? Anyways, with this constant battle within the YouTube market between misinformation, our dopamine receptors, and lying and cheating creators, it's time to shine a brighter light on the true reason YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and others even exist to begin with. Creators are hands down the single greatest asset that YouTube has to offer. And Google took a massive risk whenever they acquired YouTube back in 2006, because there was no guarantee that YouTube was ever going to become the household name that is today. If Google never gave the creators an opportunity to make a living making the content that they truly enjoy, then YouTube is never a platform that gets visited 122 million times a day. As more and more creators started to come onto the platform over the years, YouTube started to get surrounded by more and more controversy, and a whole lot more news coverage as well. Over time, we started to see groups of content get formed compared to just the general video sharing website that YouTube was prior. We started to see content that was primarily focused in gaming, sports, news, vlogging. Oh god, not those again. In these groups of content, you would start to see creator circles start to form, as well as the rise of websites where creators would meet up to collaborate. The only way to be growing the platform back then was to either be a part of one of these creator circles or to be a part of some sort of online community, which was a very old school way about doing things. Today's generation of creators, however, are struggling because of the lack of proper information out there about how to grow on YouTube. And honestly, it's not the past generation's fault either. They were mainly focused on helping their own creator circle out more than anyone new trying to grow on the platform. As time goes on, we start to see more and more creators helping this new generation. Now, why exactly information is being gatekept from new creators is unclear, but it seems to be an issue with YouTube itself, as if you were to Google how to grow a YouTube channel, the answers will be a lot more generic than Googling something like how to grow a Twitch channel. YouTube doesn't help much either, as they consistently add and remove features that no one asked for, and they are virtually silent on giving any sort of new creators advice on how to grow with the algorithm, other than just a 1 to 10 rating. Now, if Google were to make the algorithm open source similar to what Twitter just did, then that would make things a whole lot easier. But it would also enable AI to take over the world with automated content if they just make content that targeted the algorithm. It's the creator's job to keep YouTube afloat, and YouTube knows this very well, and that's why they're doing whatever they can to keep you creating content for their platform. However, creators should start helping each other more with growing on YouTube so that we can work together to make sure that we all win on this platform, and not just Google.
Game over.